years that Arts Alive has been on air, I don't think we've ever asked the question, what is the value of art? Or what is art? Or indeed, why is art? But the question, the value of art, will be discussed by Leigh Capel at an online lecture organised by the Australian Decorative in support of the Lismore Regional Art Gallery Flood Recovery Program. And Leigh Capel's on the line. Thanks very much for speaking to Arts Alive.
Thanks for having me on, Vincent.
Give us a bit of a taste of what the lecture will be about. What is the value of art, and are we talking here about all art forms or particularly visual art?
So the basis of the lecture, as I wrote it, was specifically to do with visual arts. However, it can apply in many cases to any type of art, whether it be theatre, whether it be film, music, because art is pretty much a broad term for all those creative pursuits. And so you could assess some of the lecture with that in mind, but predominantly I'll be speaking about visual arts and its value not only to us personally, but as to our culture being Australian. And yeah, that's basically what I'll be talking about.
So it's not going to be about the mercantile side of art, their value in dollars and cents then?
Well, actually, that's quite a significant percentage of it, because I think a great way to look at one aspect of the value of art is looking at dollars and cents and looking at its monetary value. And that's one of the aspects I'll talk about alongside aspects of from my background, because I spent quite a lot of time in the secondary market, in the auction world. So, and obviously the secondary market and primary market is guided by monetary value. So I'll be talking from personal experience about my experiences of valuing pieces on the secondary market through auction rooms such as Sotheby's or Menzies or Moss Green, where I've worked previously, but also as a dealer, as I've been from the last 4 or 5 years. With my own gallery in Sydney, I can say that it's a different sort of value that you apply as well. But it's not just monetary value, of course. It'll be other things like sentimental value, cultural value, political value, all this of the above, and filled with some dark secrets and gossip and intrigue.
I've always wanted to ask someone in the professional market, such as yourself, whether art becomes overvalued, because I think we've all, or many of us might recall that a certain work by Leonardo da Vinci holds the record at auction in London for Salvator Mundi, the saviour of the world, being sold at, I can't remember the figure now, but it was millions and millions and millions of dollars. Is there an end of the art market where money is more important than any other intrinsic value?
Well, that's what I've found being a dealer on the other side, that a lot of people who have the power to purchase art or to manipulate the market, we're talking in terms of monetary value, they don't usually have an art background. They're usually equity-based and business background, and they look at money as an asset. And art as an asset, and it can be traded. And there's quite a significant way that the art market can be manipulated, and that obviously doesn't give an accurate representation of the value of a particular painting, whether it be the Salvator Mundi, which I'll be covering quite significantly in the lecture because of my personal connection to the painting, and also I'll be covering other aspects of the art market and looking at other examples from Australian perspective, and I'll be talking about some of our local artists, whether it be Brett Whiteley or Russell Drysdale or even a Lismore local, Margaret Olley. So I'll be picking out all those particular artists that we consider to be valuable, and that institutions such as the Lismore Regional Gallery or Art Gallery New South Wales or the National Gallery respect and display in their galleries.
I suppose the most recent example we could have of artworks or supposed artworks being treated simply as an asset for their monetary value are the NFTs, the recent outbreak of non-fungible tokens, where value is attached not to the object but to the document of possession.
Absolutely. Well, it is not a new thing, provenance. And with NFTs, I think the best thing that comes along with NFTs is the accuracy of the provenance behind the actual artwork, the digital artworks that are purchased. You can see the direct lineage of where it's been purchased, and every time you sell the the digital image on, it can be acquired. There's a percentage that goes to the original artist, but it's also a clear level of provenance. You can see where it was originally bought, and it's tracked and recorded. Whereas in times past with physical paintings, the provenance is a huge thing, but in some cases very difficult to prove, and that can affect significantly the value of a piece if the provenance isn't clear, because that opens up a world of fakes and forgeries, which I'll also be delving into during the lecture, which is fascinating.
Of course, the provenance of an NFP is purely dependent upon the security of the blockchain. And as someone who was originally trained as an engineer, I have firmly held to the belief that anything a computer can write can be rewritten by a computer. So I must say I have doubts about the security of blockchain records. But that's probably getting off the track of our conversation a bit.
Not necessarily, because it is an aspect that we have to take into account when it comes to valuing art now, because this is just a new evolution of art and finding a value, and it sort of brings it closer to a currency rather than an asset, as we've discussed, rather than art for art's sake and being a piece that people buy to get pleasure from and to look at.
Yes, indeed. And maybe they will go all the same way as the cryptocurrencies are going at the moment, down.
Absolutely.
In any case, returning to the value of art in the lecture, how is this going to work? Tell us about the mechanism of the lecture to be delivered at 5:30pm on Sunday the 24th of July, how it is being monetarised.
So the whole process is you're a visitor or interested in, and you haven't signed on as a member of ADFAS, you can apply to view the lecture digitally, and all the funds will be going to help the Lismore Regional Gallery conservation of several of their artworks that were damaged or destroyed during the recent floods up there in Lismore. And in galleries, in Australia, we're very, very lucky because we can go into a public gallery and it doesn't cost us a cent. It's a free experience. And for someone who's travelled all around the world, I know that that's a very rare occurrence, that you don't have to pay to go and have access to beautiful artworks and beautiful, valuable pieces of our culture. And it's the galleries such as Lismore Regional Gallery and any other regional gallery or state gallery around Australia that they're providing this service, and it is important because it tells us, and it sort of illustrates our cultural heritage. And so the way that it goes about, all that money will go towards restoration of several of the pieces that were destroyed during the floods. And even you just have to go onto Google and it comes up with images that they were severely impacted by those floods earlier this year.
Yes, I've read recently that Mona Museum of Modern Art in New York has just upped the entry price to $30 for an adult.
Absolutely, and usually it's the case. I've got some fascinating stories about MoMA in New York myself in terms of ticket prices. But as I've said, it is a rare thing that we have. We're so lucky that we can go into these galleries, and they rely upon the public, public donations and patrons in order to keep going and to be able to offer this service that we're so lucky to have. And it's something that we should never take for granted.
Do you think that because we have no entry fees for, this is to the regular collection as distinct from special exhibitions, do you think that means we tend to undervalue art in our community?
Absolutely. Look, when it comes to galleries, most people don't know a lot about art, and it doesn't mean you can't learn more about art. I think everyone's always learning, me included, even though I've been in the industry for so long. And it is the job of galleries to sort of be that catalyst of quality and taste, and the artists and the artworks that they choose to display ultimately is a very important way that we see our culture and see how our society has changed over time, and a historical record. And these are the people who run these galleries are very experienced, and they've done art degrees, so they know what good taste and quality is. And so in a sense that as the general public having access to galleries for free, in a way we could be undervaluing it, but hopefully people appreciate the fact that curating is an incredibly hard job because there are so many artists out there, and there's so many artists who have been successful, and there's others that haven't been. And to make that benchmark of being in a gallery, that is the top artist that we can produce. And so perhaps we do undervalue because we go to galleries, well, we can get into galleries for free. But it shouldn't be that way. I think having just makes it more accessible that we can go more often.
Well, here's an opportunity for folks to put more value into art and their collections to support the Lismore Regional Gallery Flood Recovery Fundraiser online lecture, which has been organised by the Australian Decorative and Fine Arts Societies. It'll be delivered by Leigh Capel at 5:30pm Eastern Australian Standard Time on Sunday, the 24th of July. And you can subscribe, you can buy your way into that one and help the gallery. And Leigh Capel, thanks for previewing the lecture.
Thanks for having me on, Vincent.
And there will be a pre-lecture informal chat session at 5pm Eastern Standard Time ahead of the lecture. Bookings are at www.ADFAS, that's for the Australian Decorative and Fine Arts Societies.org.au.